Governor Kate Brown is back after flying to Scotland to take part in the International Conference on Climate Change. And Pat Dooris got the chance to talk with the governor one-on-one about the ideas she brought back to Oregon.
When world leaders gathered in Scotland in early November, Oregon's Governor Kate Brown was there. She was there to tell others about our state's historic wildfires and severe ice storms. She was also there to meet others and learn. It's probably fair to say the governor came away energized.
I had opportunity to have dinner with the First Minister of Scotland. She's like the governor or the president of Scotland. She's a total and complete badass. And she is so committed to moving her country forward on climate change. It's just unbelievable. And that's the kind of leadership that we need in countries across the world.
One of the first takeaways involves Scotland. The windy country now gets an enormous amount of electricity from offshore wind turbines, and a recently finished project with 84 turbines is capable of producing enough power for 450,000 homes.
Seeing what they are doing offshore in Scotland was an eye-opener, and we should be taking advantage of the technology that's being used in other countries and, frankly, implementing it here.
A study in Oregon is now underway on how to best implement that idea off the southern coast. Governor Brown has also been thinking about the heat dome event from late summer and how to protect the vulnerable while holding down electricity use. She wants to use federal money to buy low-income households heat pumps to keep them cool in the summer and warm in the winter.
So it's a really wonderful, concrete example of where we can expand our investments in ways that will help Oregonians, particularly our most vulnerable low-income Oregonians, and at the same time, tackle climate change.
The governor also came back even more determined to protect the Pacific Ocean and its creatures from impacts of global warming.
It's working with organizations, specifically organizations, for example, that are working to reinstate sea otters that help keep a balance in terms of coastal species.
Sea otters help with the growth of kelp near the shore and eelgrass in estuaries, all of which absorb carbon. And Governor Brown wants more vehicles switched to electric.
The transportation sector is truly the largest single source of greenhouse gas emissions in Oregon. And obviously pollutants from diesel and gasoline engines pose immediate health risks, particularly for vulnerable communities in Oregon.
This is not a new topic, and the state is not doing well in hitting its established goals. You had Executive Order 1721, which set a goal of 50,000 electric cars on the road by 2020. And yet I think there's only about 36,000 of those, and certainly nowhere near meeting the goal of 250,000 a few years later. What about that?
Absolutely. We have a multi-pronged strategy to tackle electric vehicles.
The Oregonian newspaper this week reported the state has almost no chance of hitting its electric vehicle goals.
We have moved substantially greater numbers of our fleet supply to hybrid vehicles. But again, you have cost issues and you have infrastructure, EV charging station issues, just like every other user has. And so what is so important is that we leverage these federal dollars, get them on the ground as quickly as possible, and make sure that there's EV infrastructure charging stations that are consistent throughout the state of Oregon and frankly throughout the entire western region.
The governor also is thinking about farms and big equipment like combines.
How do we electrify our agricultural sector? I think we can do it relatively quickly and with the federal funds that are arriving in Oregon to move to electronic tractors. And I just think it would be a boon for our rural economies.
But wait, there's more. Oregon's governor has not given up on her effort to lower emissions with some industries and some specific companies, and she's figured out a way to do it this time that does not require a vote from the legislature. We expect details to come out in about 2 weeks. I'm Pat Dooris, KGW News.